Last time I was here, you mentioned that we'll investigate and get back to you about the situation that I had with the Caneo Senior Volunteer Program, and especially the Busy Bees group. And frankly, I'd hoped for a better outcome. I did have a meeting with Julie Spivak and Patty Ham after I met here. And, I have to tell you, there's a lot of retaliation for my meeting here and a lot of gaslighting. The amount of gaslighting was astounding even to me. And Patty said that I have been bullying the people in the group, all the people in the group since day one, and then I'm responsible for all of the issues with the Busy Bees. And I just felt that really warranted a response, which I'll get into in a little bit later. And I believe that statement was a direct response to my statement that I had here that I've been bullied since the day that I started the Busy Bees knitting group. So, before I go on with some of the details about what's actually happened to me over the last decade, I wanted to go through some of the just definitional things. Most people know what bullying is. I didn't at first. I thought it was just physical bullying, where somebody beat you up in a playground. I didn't realize that the level or the incidence of adult bullying is actually the same as it is for playground children bullying. And I didn't know that there was this physical bullying and there's other types of bullying besides physical, like hitting somebody or that sort of thing. So Duffy and Sperry say, I had said before that I was being mobbed in the group, and mobbing is through Duffy and Sperry say mobbing is not bullying. Mobbing is often worse than bullying. Mobbing takes place within organizational or institutional settings and always includes organizational involvement. Key organizational members become involved in mobbing through overt and covert actions against a target or through failure to act to protect organization members from abuse. And this is from Stephen Kensel. Mobbing is defined as the prolonged malicious harassment of a coworker, or in this case, a knitting group worker, by a group of other members of an organization to secure the removal from the organization of the person who is targeted. It results in the humiliation, devaluation, discrediting, degradation, loss of reputation, and the removal of the target through termination or quitting. So that's, the definition that I'm working on. I didn't even know what mobbing was before this, but I had mentioned some experiences that I had to a friend of mine on Facebook, and he says, that's not a bully, you're being mobbed. Turns out his wife had written a book about it, and I started reading this, and I was just like kind of shocked that I'd never heard about it. And they think that's really high, and people don't really appreciate how much this is going on and the extent to which it went on within the Busy Bees group with CSVP.
And
So,
Mrs. Nerman, could you please wrap up your comments in the next 30 seconds?
any questions?
Mr. Friedel, do you have any comments?
No, I appreciate Ms. Neerman coming down. She's a volunteer, has been a volunteer in CSVP for quite a long time. And some of these matters we hold and treat similarly to an employee personnel matter in terms of confidentiality. And I know that she's had meetings with staff running the CSVP program, and there's been some exchange of written information. And I believe that Ms. Neerman has a recourse through that process still. So that's where it's at.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have some special presentations today from the aquatics department. Yay.
Good evening, Chair Cusworth and Board of Directors. I'm Dee Pearson, the aquatic supervisor. I'm here tonight to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing for the last couple of years that's worked really well, and just to share a little bit with you. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Safe Passage swim program that was established this past year, and then my coordinator will come up, Xavier, and talk to you about our lap swim registration program that we started during COVID, actually. All right. I wanted to start off with this slide as a reminder that everyone knows the dangers of water and what happens and what could happen I've had a few lifetime experiences that to know that everything can be prevented. This last sentence here, more than 90% of drownings deaths occur in low and middle income communities with children under the age of 5 being at the highest risk. These are the kids that we've always wanted to target and get out there and get those kids in swimming lessons, trying to figure out where they are, how come they're not coming to the pool. So reaching out to our own community, we worked with Tim Hagel, very excited that he came to us last winter. And he said, hey, Dee, why don't we, start this program? We have a grant of $27,000 and, let's start off with some swim lessons. We'll provide the transportation and then work on everything else. It was super. We met several times for coffee and had several meetings throughout the next few months. When we came back, Tim told me that 84% of the children there at Safe Passage cannot swim. So that's a huge number. So we wanted to make sure we got those kids into our swimming program. All right, so the underserved. So we currently already know that if you do swimming lessons, that it's going to reduce your risk of drowning. Okay, so what are some of those limits? What are we up against? Why aren't these people coming to our pools? So financial insecurity, of course. So we're going to check that off. Transportation limits. Even though it's skyrocketed this last fall season, we checked that off. Language barriers, we got a lot of volunteers to come out and help that were bilingual and threw them in the water. Even some of the older kids from Safe Passage, the 13, 14-year-olds jumped in the water to help their younger siblings. And then equipment, something like, we don't think anything about, but a simple swimsuit instead of swimming in their t-shirts and jeans, we provided swimsuits for them as well. Since we were so excited about this program, Tim said we'll start it during the summer, but we came back and we said, no, we'd like to do a pilot program and start in the spring. So we put it out there. We went to the community, they have a little flea market on Saturdays once a month. We went out there, we did some registration, Xavier and I, and we ended up getting on eval day, 84 people totally coming out. So of those 84 people, we were able to get the first 44 into swimming lessons for the spring semester. The remaining, they're like bummed that they couldn't get in. So we went back and we regrouped and we said, hey, you know what? We're renting this bus for $800. Everybody gets on the bus and everybody comes to the pool for that 2-hour block. And then we'll do swimming lessons with whoever we can for 30 minutes. We had 5 instructors, and the rest of the time after that, the hour and a half when they're done, they can practice their skills that they learned. And that's actually where they got the most benefit was that hour and a half of practice after. So you can see here on this photo, they, just goofing around. So we ran the program for spring, and then summer we did it at Newbury Park High School. Super successful. They love Newbury Park High. We did it in the smaller pool, and we ran it again this fall. We were able to get a total of 130 youths through the program in 3 seasons. In addition, we were able to provide swimsuits, transportation, swim equipment, and then we had a lot of help from Grandma with Love, Adelante, and the Nahas family, who donated a big chunk. Here's just some simple pictures. The kids enjoying themselves. We bonded with quite a few of these families, hard workers, very diligent. Here's a short video of after the lesson. So you can see this is, she's practicing and, just a simple water exposure. So many parents even came up to us and they're like, can we learn to swim? And they always are looking after each other, which is super cool too. And these 2 little kids are siblings, and they started the program in the spring, and they came religiously every single Saturday for 3 seasons, and they technically got a lesson every time. This mom was super helpful with us, and she's so excited and, you know, she'll be back in the spring as well. Some other shots, sometimes when we couldn't get the bus, we had to rent vans. So there's a bunch of kids in the van. And so fun. So our plans are underway to continue the Safe Passage program through the spring. Years ago, Tim came to me at like 2012 or something, and he asked me, hey, let's get a swim program going. So we tried to do it up at Warwick, but we couldn't because the pool wasn't up to code and that we didn't have enough money for transportation. And I think we actually tried for like 2 or 3 more years after that. And it just wasn't working. And for some of you that go way back, we used to do it over at where the Safe Passage is off in Newbury Park, way back in the 90s. We ran swimming lessons, but yeah, so that's it. I'm going to introduce Xavier up here, and he's going to talk to you about the lap swim program, and then I'll take questions after so he can go through his portion too. Xavier.
Thanks, Dee. Good morning. Good evening, everyone. My name is Xavier. I'm the boring one of the two, so I apologize in advance. So we're gonna go to the next slide. Perfect. So this is our lap swim reservation system. So we're kind of keeping on the same theme. How are we accessible to our community? Dee just talks about a program that we are offering, and now we want to kind of focus on the health and fitness side for our community itself. So the lap swim reservation system really came into play during COVID. We had to have a system in place to allow people to come use the facility and track everyone that was entering the facility. And we toyed with the idea of using like Sign Up Genius and the admin site, setting up classes every day for people to swim at, maybe doing a pen and piece of paper and having lifeguards sanitize individual pens. We realized that wasn't feasible. So luckily, Melissa came to us, our lovely service manager. She's like, hey, we have a racquetball system that's not really being utilized right now. Why don't we kind of switch gear and make that a lap swim reservation system? So that's where the birth of that came from. And you guys can see right here, it was a really, really simple site. You choose your facility that you want to swim at, 7 days populate, you can reserve up to 7 days out. And then you could choose lanes and then reserve each lane by time. And people prefer certain lanes depending on depth, the sun, accessibility to stairs, wind, smell, you know, bunch of different things. I don't know, the lifeguard, view the lifeguard, who knows, you know? All right. Next slide here. This slide specifically shows you the numbers of reservations on the reservation system specifically. One of the biggest fears that Dee brought to me when we were kind of deciding what do we need to do for the reservation system was, are the seniors able to access the system? And we were kind of going back and forth. Well, how are we going to get the older population back into our facility if they don't have access to computers, not tech savvy? Lo and behold, we found out that the seniors are the quickest to the reservation system every morning. Our community pool is booked every day. But this kind of shows you, we just chose random days since we've had the reservation system. It's pretty even between the adults ages like 12 to 61 and then seniors 62 to around 85-ish. It's pretty even. Orange kind of depicts the seniors and the green depicts the adults, which encompasses youth and on teens and all that as well. So we're pretty proud to say we get about 130 to 150 people accessing the reservation site per day. So if you kind of multiply that by the days of the week, the month, I can't do basic math right now. Maybe someone has a calculator, but it's pretty staggering. It's pretty awesome to see. So this slide we're going to spend a little more time on, but this kind of shows the revenue that we kind of gained through the reservation site, the lap swim reservation site, and kind of the benefits. So in 2019, as you can see, it was kind of low. We didn't have the reservation site. Obviously, COVID happened. We didn't actually close until March of 2020. Luckily, we reopened in June of 2020, only a couple months closed. We're proud to say we were one of the first facilities open in Ventura County, one of the first fitness facilities open in Ventura County. So we did get a head start. In 2019, because we were so quick to the gun, the university, Cal Lutheran University also approached us and said, hey, can you guys help us open? With that came a really beneficial partnership where in exchange for lifeguards, we now have access for public swim in the university, which has never happened before. So we're really stoked on that. So in 2020, as you guys can see, our revenues skyrocketed. And this is specifically racquetball reservation or lap swim reservation only. This doesn't include lessons. It doesn't include rec swim, permit groups. This is specifically reservations only. So as you guys can see, I mean, we surpassed 200,000 in 2020. Granted, university had no programs, no university athletics. The community pool was solely lap swimming. We had very minimal lessons, so we were open 7 days a week, all day, providing hours for our lifeguards as well. In 2021, obviously with return of athletics and university, our time in the university pool kind of became a little bit limited. And then expansion of our own programs limited the hours of open hours for the public. But if you guys can see from 2019, 2021, we're still surpassing what we were doing pre-reservation system. And then currently right now, just from the start of the fiscal year, July 1st of 2022 to current, we've already surpassed what we were doing pre-reservation system. Part of coming out of the post-pandemic era, we were thinking, do we kind of go away from the reservation system? We're currently one of, I think maybe the only one left with the reservation system in Ventura County itself. We meet with different aquatic agencies twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, and everyone told us, "Oh, we're gonna ditch it. We're gonna go back to the old way." And Dee and I kind of went back and forth, like, "Oh, do we keep it? What are the benefits?" So we decided to kind of ask around our lap swimmers. This is George and Sandy Oaks. They bring watermelon to our staff. They are our favorites. They also bring them treats and food, so they're really awesome. But these are a couple of quotes. You guys can read them on your own, but basically, you know, our majority, I would say 95%, if not more, prefer the reservation system. They liked having their own lane. The benefits of COVID, no one likes sharing anymore. I like my own space, so people like having their own lane. They like being able to make reservations, knowing that they have the lane to themselves and be able to plan the rest of their week. They're not guessing to see if the pool is available and there's lanes or not. So Carol, Long, Pam, and George, we love them. But just to kind of close our presentation, you know, the COVID really kind of opened our eyes. Pre-COVID, we thought we were, you know, representing our community well. We thought we were offering enough programs, enough open hours to the public. But coming out of, you know, COVID and realizing the amount of people that wanted to access our facility, we kind of sat down and how are we going to continue to offer more programs and more hours to the public to be a little bit more accessible, since we kind of got complacent prior to COVID. So coming out of COVID, you know, we're gung-ho, we're always busy expanding our programs, offering more and more hours. Feel like we're never closed anymore, but that's okay. We love it. So with that, Dee will take all of your questions, unless you have a question for me specifically, but I'm gonna give it back to Dee.
So questions, Director Lang.
Yes, Xavier, I have a question specifically
Oh,
for
of
you.
course.
I've got one for D too.
Oh, okay. You want to go D first or me?
No.
Oh, okay.
Why were the other organizations ditching the reservations? Where was it failing them?
It is a lot of work to maintain lanes. So we have to open and close lanes daily, depending on permit groups, swim lessons. I mean, it's a constant. I mean, D and I spend on average like 2 hours a day on just maintaining lanes. Like the first thing I do in the morning is check lanes a week out, plus our calendar, plus staff and programs. So it's a lot of work. And most agencies just didn't want to spend the manpower. They just want to go back to walk-ins, first come, first serve.
D. The swim instructors for Tim Hagel's group. What is the feedback that you got from them and their experiences working with passages?
Sure. They actually appreciate it more than the traditional classes. So they know that they want to be there. Their parents aren't forcing them to be there. I don't think we had any criers, which is amazing. So yeah, they enjoy it. We don't have a problem filling that spot. I wish we could do more, you know.
And then I assume you continue to plan for next season with safe passages.
Yes. Yeah, we hope, we've had a couple offers. The Manzanita principal wanted to bring his whole second grade. We've always had a vision to do no second grader. I mean, to give every second grader a swimming lesson and in the Canal Valley. And the Manzanita principal wants to do that, but I guess the school district shut him down, so. Because they can't do it during school time, so
Thank you both.
you're so welcome.
Good presentation.
Any other comment? Director Nichols?
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. First, Dee, since you're right there. Thank you for the presentation. This is fantastic. You know, we'd heard so much about how the aquatics program was kind of like the lifesaver of the community for the last couple of years when nothing else was available, and
Yeah.
numbers, I'd heard that they had gone up because of the, you know, availability of the CLU pool, which was fantastic. That we could continue to use that. But with the safe passages, I was just curious, is there a different curriculum or different program that you're using aside from any languages? Is it like, I know you've got all these little different names for the types of programs that you
Right.
use. Is it like just the same as one of those, or is this a unique and different program?
And the reason we did the pilot was to check all this stuff out, and we decided, after running it traditional in the spring, that we are going to do like just non-swimmers and beginners, starting in the summer and the fall. And we have cue cards now that we use, you know, if there's a language barrier for us.
And is the curriculum the same as some of the other programs that you?
Oh,
do for
yes,
Beginners,
yeah.
intermediate, it's,
Yes.
nothing is different, it's just how you apply it to this.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
we just, you know, we get 3 kids show up, they all want to be together. So,
okay.
you know, they all can't be together because there might be a different level. But so that's why we just started naming them beginners, and, you know, everybody's going to learn a back float and front float. So,
Oh, that's fantastic.
thank you so
Uh,
much.
And the other part that I wanted to say to both of you with the parts of your presentations is the creativity that we've seen over the last couple of years.
Mhm.
You know, I think Xavier was commenting about, you know, even just the, you know, the reservation system, you know, we had to do something different.
Right,
And just the creativity from top to bottom of the organization, it never ceases to amaze me as to how you folks just figured it out at your level. Said, hey, we need something that works, you know, find the resources to make it do. We got some great resources up and down the district. So thank you
Right.
for doing that.
and we
and-
really, you know, what Xavier was saying about, you know, that some, the other districts aren't doing it, we really reached out to our people, you know, our lap swimmers. And, you know, they'd say, oh, give me the weekend to think about it, or give us a little time. And our advisory board, we asked them, and everybody wanted to think about it. They all have come back. We haven't gotten one that has said, open up. Everybody, I mean, we probably have 100 people that we've talked to.
Hmm.
We had a little list.
Wow.
Yeah, not one person wants to go back to the way it was.
Well, and the other thing I was going to add to that point is, you know, as you folks kind of get your routine and you kind of know how things work and you try to do your programs and then something has to tweak and you have to do it differently, there's a tendency to want to go back to what was normal or what was comfortable or what was convenient. But if the community is pressing forward for something more and it can be done, and you found a way to do it, thank you. I mean, that is awesome to hear, because, you know, our whole goal is to serve the public. And
Right.
that's what we're here for. We're public servants to do
Right.
that. And I think there just was a good example of how you recognize, yeah, we can do things better, differently. Maybe it's a little extra time, a little extra effort, but the community is better served. So thank you for doing
Right.
that.
Oh,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you, Doug.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On that note, Dee always makes, when we have meetings and stuff with our managing staff, she always says, our excuse can't be because we've always done it in the past. That's why we do it. So. it's Dee.
All right, thank you.
Director Huffer?
Yeah, first of all, I just wanted to compliment you guys on the Safe Passage program. I mean, there's so many neat things that Tim has organized for that group, but as you pointed out, these are the kids that rarely have a chance to get swim lessons. They're the ones that are most likely to, whether it's a pool in the residential area or something, if they don't know how to swim, they're the ones that are most likely to end up drowning. So the fact that you folks with Tim's help are providing this program is absolutely spectacular. You mentioned the grant. Where did that grant, the $27,000 grant come from?
Melissa, do you know where that? came from? Tim?
I'll jump in. I believe he got a city grant for, I believe, $8,000 or $10,000, and then Safe Passage as a nonprofit picked up the rest of it. So however Tim got his dollars.
Typical way of twisting arms. He's pretty good at
Yeah,
that,
he's
so.
good.
Yeah, Safe Passage is doing very well. They'll be around for a long time.
The lap swimming, how many hours a day, is lap swimming available to those folks?
6 AM to about 8 PM on some days.
Oh, wow.
We have lap swim, I mean, during programs and some permit groups like, oh, you can open the lanes and we'll just rent half the pool. So I mean, we're pretty much open all day. I mean, there's not a time where you can't swim.
I'm assuming that there are certain times though that the university takes over the Samuelson pool.
Yeah, so from like the university side, from like 2 to 6 on some days, yeah, it's pretty much closed. 9 AM, we close every day for maintenance on that side. But from like 6 to 8, 10 to noon, like 6 to 8 PM, we're usually open. And if the Samuelson is not open, usually the community pool side is open as well. So we'll have lanes in the community pool side.
Okay. And I know the hours are posted somewhere, but just the open public swimming, not lap swimming, but just for the kids or grandkids to come around and splash around for a while.
Yeah, we always have the shallow end of the community pool closed in the afternoon time on the weekends, so Saturday, Sunday. From, I would say, yeah, 12 to 3, and then from March all the way to October, and we just close the weekdays. So we're usually open Monday through Friday, 12 to 3 as well. So
Okay.
we really only November through February do we really close during the week for public swim.
Okay, and just a comment about maybe a suggestion about the public swimming that, I mean, I certainly wasn't averse to paying it, but, came down with 2 grandkids and 2 parents, 3 parents and 4 grandparents. And to have all the parents and grandparents who are just there to watch the grandkids, getting charged for each one, and maybe not.
Was it during the summer?
I'm sorry.
Was it summertime?
Was it during the summer?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, well, you're taking up space.
Just standing there.
It's, we always, we tell everyone, I mean, you enter the facility, I mean, you're gonna get the same care no matter what, if you're in the pool, out the pool, emergencies happen anywhere. So, especially in the summertime, we're so busy and we require more staff. And it's not really the kids in the water, it's more so the staff and the management staff have to watch the patrons on the deck and the ones around the corner and, the kids getting into the shed and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's why we have that entry fee.
All right, just sort of jerking your chain a little bit. Anyway, thanks for the swimming programs. Thanks so much for the Safe Passage program.
We'll get you
I
some
think it's
tokens.
spectacular.
So do we have any other comments? Well, I wanted to say that growing up in Southern California, I think some of my best memories are swimming. And especially since we have the ocean so nearby, it's almost an essential thing to know how to swim. So that's a wonderful thing to provide. And my children the same way. I remember I wrote kind of a long poem to them one time about growing up. And one of the lines in the poem, I won't recite the entire poem. But one of the lines in the poem was, during the summers, you swam in the pool. Because that's what they did. And so it's such a shame to think that there's some children that didn't have that opportunity. And when you were talking, it made me feel good about the generosity that we have in our community, that people would donate money so that people who couldn't afford swim lessons and didn't have bathing suits, that they would be happy to donate so that they could. And even probably to children they might never know, or, just to anonymously be generous is, really says a lot for our community and also for Safe Passage and our community pools partnering together. And then I had a lot of questions about the pool hours of when people could go down. That sounded pretty interesting to me, actually. My question is, how hot is that pool? I don't like cold water too well. Do you heat that pool in the winter, or?
The standard response is 80 to 83 degrees year round.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then the community pool side, depending on the day. So we turn up and down the heater depending on how hot it is. So in the summertime, hovers around 80. 81 degrees. In the winter time, we hover around 82, 83. And then the competition pool, the Sanderson Aquatic Center is 79 to 81, around there.
Do you always have availability or do people have to get on a wait list on the reservation?
We're full pretty much every day, but we leave 5 lanes in the Sanderson Aquatic Center for straight up walk-ins. And then we also always have people that don't show up in the community pool. They make reservations, but they don't show up. So we always accept walk-ins as well.
And do people pay online with credit cards?
Yeah, they pay online with credit cards. They can pay by credit card when they first arrive as well. And then, or by cash as well.
Can they buy like 10 swims?
Yeah, we have punch cards available. So the ones that continuously walk in, they'll just buy swims ahead of time with punch cards. And then we'll punch it every time they come in.
Well,
Oh.
punch the card, not the person, right?
Yeah, the card. How do I do?
Quick question,
Yeah.
somewhere along the way, I got one of these little wooden coins for one free swim. Are those still valid?
Every time I see you walk by in the morning, I'm just gonna throw you a token.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. I really
Sure, that's
enjoyed
great.
that. Oh, yes, Director Lang.
Yes, when, certain vacations and summer vacations specifically at the schools, how do you integrate those schools into the main program?
You mean the lap swim reservation?
Yeah, all swimming at the high school pools. Right, isn't that part of our summer program?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you integrate that? All of a sudden you've got this excess, or not excess, but more availability. You have people on the waiting list, you just automatically put them in that queue?
Yeah, they're already set. So the facility is already in. So the seasonal ones like Newberry Park High School, and Thousand Oaks High School, they're already in the reservation site. And then we just have to hire more staff. So it's always been the golden ticket, how do we get staff?
And one follow-up question, how many patrons do those 2 pools add to our total, revenue and so forth?
We had a very good summer. We made budget, at least I know, for the end of our fiscal year. Yeah, we did, yeah.
Which I would want to interject that it's not typical for public pools to
Right,
break even. Like break even's not normal for a
Right.
public pool. So they do a fantastic.
yeah. We have the city of Oxnard calling us every day because they're building a facility, so like, what are you doing? How's it going? So, but, it's just, a lot of it's just word of mouth and having repeat customers. They tell 2 friends and so on and so on. So, all those pools fill. It's crazy. And Newberry Park is, a big, because we want to serve that side. And it's always been, that's always been like a great pool for us, always full. Tom brought his kids up over there. So Tom's a figure there, so. Hey, Tom. Yeah, you've done it. We have a few, Tom rules now, so.
We're dead serious.
Yeah. Director Holt.
I just want to, first of all, thank you for the presentation. It
Thank
was great. But I mean, it's amazing what you do and how many people are involved and the children too. And it's fantastic. When I was young, I had to go a long way to find a pool to swim in. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We all
All right.
round up, everyone.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Okay,
Very
thank you.
nice.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Okay, second,
Second.
Dr. Nichols, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay. Moving on. To our consent calendar, A and B. Do we have approval?
Move approval of consent calendar items A and B.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Director Lang. All in favor?
I,
Aye, okay.
I just just wanted to mention, I found one correction that I already submitted. It's Canal Open Space Conservation Agency, not authority, so I already got that into the
Okay.
to correct.
Thank you. And so, did we all vote aye?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so motion passes. All right, do we have any deferred matters at this point? No, so we'll go on to items for discussion. Is there any items for discussion? No, all righty. Let's go to new items. Our contract with the California State Parks. And that's always very fun. So I assume, Mr. Hare.
Yes, lots of fun. Thanks to Chair Cusworth, members of the board. First, we just want to get out of the way, recommendation number 2. Made a mistake. I know it's been like 7 years since I've made a mistake at this board meeting. What, Chuck? Sorry. But that should be, instead of from the general fund unassigned fund balance, it should be from the district-wide assessment fund balance. So it's a different fund balance, where we need the money from. But okay, so with that said, tonight we've got a concept plan, which you saw, you saw like a draft concept plan, a few years ago when we started this process, and even going back a little bit, way back in May of 2019 is when we actually started this planning exercise, getting staff together, reaching out to the community, forming a focus group, and like, what are we going to do and how are we going to do it, just to kind of get the ball rolling, as we knew it was a 3 to 5 year process. COVID hit us, and we had to take a little bit of break during the process. For this current budget cycle that we're in, for like where we just threw in a number of $100,000 to kind of get the ball rolling with the design to see where that was going to take us. But back in July of last year, we did hire California Skate Parks to start the process with us. And it was a 3-phase approach with them. In the phase 1, which they just completed, they met with us, they drafted some more concept plans, refined the concept plans. Then we also had some public outreach meetings, which Chair Cusworth was at one of them. It was very well received from the public of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. They even had a website for the public to make their comments on. But again, very, very, very well received from the community and what we're doing. So phase 2, and we restructured their contract in 3 different phases. Phase 1 was design development. Phase 2 is where we are tonight, asking for permission to do construction documents, which would take us to actual construction. And if you remember, this is a design build. So if we get to that point, the next stage would be to authorize California Skate Parks to actually construct the skate park. So they provided us a proposal for the phase 2 construction documents. It's $70,000, but with what we've already spent on this project, it took us over the budget that we have currently. And just overall, it's about $132,000 we've spent between last fiscal year and this fiscal year. So that's why we're asking for an appropriation of $32,000. We think probably around the springtime, we'll be able to have a final cost estimate from California Skate Park to do the construction. We think it's about $2.25 million right now, but we'll have we'll actually get a proposal from them, and then we'll be able to slot that in the 10-year capital improvement plan next spring during the next budget cycle. And so things have been going really well, been progressing well, been working really well with focus group, community, and the recreation and park staff. We're working closely on this, and we're pretty excited on to take the next step and see where this next step takes us. And hopefully in the very near future, we could be building the facility. I'm available for questions.
Any questions? Director Lang.
Yes, Tom, in the diagram photograph.
Sure.
I'm assuming the skate park structure to the south, west, is that the existing?
Yeah. So if you're looking at, so the bottom right-hand corner of your sheet there,
Right.
that's Reno Road. So,
Okay.
so that's the corner of Reno and then if you look at the upper right-hand corner, that's Borchard. So that's a corner of Reno and Borchard.
Okay.
So the existing structure is about 10,000 square feet right now, but it's actually demolishing the existing structure and building a brand new structure, about a 20,000 square foot structure. So it's gonna, push into the parking that we have, towards the softball fields along Orchard Road.
Okay. So this is not the footprint of the existing one.
It's the same footprint, double. Yeah, but half of it is in the same footprint and then we're moving past it also.
Okay. I'll have a better idea once I actually see it, but just. And the shade structures are not sturdy enough to support any solar or anything like that.
No, we already have at that facility, but we already do have solar.
Right,
So
I
it-
know in the parking lot.
Yeah, so it takes care of, and we can only have, not, we can only have, but generally you want, the solar to provide 80% of your usage and that particular, those solar carports provide are necessary.
Already 80.
Yeah, we're already there. Because if
Okay.
you produce too much more, if you can't use it, you're paying for nothing.
Thank you. That concludes my questions.
Thank you. Director Huffer?
Just a couple of questions, Tom, on the diagram. It's a little hard to tell from, two-dimensional picture like this. But it appears that the area on the far right that's some kind of bowl.
Correct. Yes, yeah, you're right. So you would drop in, if you're looking on the left side of the bowl, right? Yeah, you drop in there and you do continuous around it, but it is, you can see like the left half, like you were looking at, I'm sure, yeah, same thing. The left half you're looking at is higher and then you're gonna drop into that.
Okay, and then is pretty much the rest of it fairly level, or are there other
Correct.
bowls or depressed areas?
Right, there's some depressed areas. If you can see, there's about 3 or 4 different areas where there's stairs. So it gives different, so there are varying heights. And then if you look on the furthest left, there is another drop-in area there.
Right under that overhang, the
That
shade area?
shade structure, yeah, yes.
Okay,
And if you look at and then the middle shade structure, that's more of like an entry viewing area. So if you were a parent or someone, it's a non-skatable area there. You just come in, you can sit at like a picnic table and watch everybody skate.
okay. And then you mentioned that the extension to the east is basically over to the softball fields. Does that mean that we'd be closing off the entrance to the park off of Borchard?
No, there's still plenty of room. If you look down there, there's I think it's about 8 or 10 spots. Right now, we actually use that for storage for our like materials for the fields. So we really don't use those spots for parking anymore. So it's just taking those, but yes, the entrance off of Borchard will still be there.
Okay, all right. And I think you addressed this, but the $2.25 million for phase 3, that is not at this point anywhere in our 2-year or 10-year capital projections.
Correct. I think we might have put it like in a year X or we might have put it in. I apologize for not looking up sooner. If we did put it in, it might have been a TBD as far as the funding goes. So we knew that we're going to take this first step and then give it a good evaluation this spring and like really slot it next time in its appropriate place rather than a guess.
Okay. And we're exploring various funding possibilities for that
Yes.
2.25.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Director Nichols?
Thank you. Chuck had one of my questions, so I'll check that one off. But I was wondering, what is the time frame for this phase 2 and 2A?
About 6 months.
6 months?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and with the deliverable of an opinion for probable construction costs is item number 2. I presume that dollar figure with whatever inflation costs are at that moment would be what you would target, this 2 million plus.
Correct, yeah.
And the whole purpose of that is to kind of refine what that number would be.
Correct. They gave us their best guess of now, that's where the 2.25 million came, and then they'll actually get down to, because they're doing the construction documents and doing the construction, they'll be able to do quantities, off their documents saying, I'm gonna need X amount of, cubic yards for this, demolitions could be this much, so they can give us a very, very good estimate. Almost, I'd say almost perfect estimate. They should, because not only they're gonna build it, but they'd be the ones designing it too, so they know what they're doing. But obviously, yes, there's unforeseen site conditions that might happen, or things that they didn't think that were gonna happen. But it should be pretty dead on when we get that next estimate.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And then the last question I had was under the deliverables for phase 2A regarding building grading and electrical permits as required. If they will be providing this process all the way up to permits, if we don't have the funding to build it, don't permits expire if you haven't broken ground in a certain period of time?
Yeah, so sometimes, yes, they do. And what a lot of times you can extend those if there's not a huge variance of between, sometimes I think some permits can go for about 3 years. But we want a project that's ready to go. But at the same time, we don't have to, like, when we get to that stage, if we think the funding is 10 years down the road, we don't have to have them execute and get the permits. But we want one that's ready to roll. And that we asked them to give us a price for obtaining those permits. But again, like some of that said, if they get the permits and we don't have the funding, it's sometimes it's not that difficult to ask building and safety or planning to, hey, we're this close or whatever, can you extend by a year or 2 years? And they're generally, and this is, I don't say easy, but this is a fairly straightforward project. So my opinion that building and safety or planning would say, sure, we'll extend you another year or 2 years.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Director Holt, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't.
I was just curious how does this park compare to other local skate park facilities in the, general area?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we did, it's interesting that, again, and not being a skater at all, not even close, but talking to, Jim's the skater. That each skate park is unique. That's what I got out of it from a lot of the users that we have and some of the, from our consultant, that, everyone has a different affinity for different things, and ours right now is very beloved with the community. So we tried to keep a lot of the same sort of feel that's there because they really enjoyed the Orchard Skate Park. But I do think this will, at worst, have better participation than we did before. And at best, it's going to be crazy busy and crazy fun. Because one of the things that Kurt Gunning is the supervisor there, and Aaron, who's the skate park specialist, right? Yeah. At the skate park specialist there, we designed the facility so you can have, like, the big complaint we got now is while we give lessons, you can actually do free skate at the same time. And right now we have to, during a lesson, we have to close it off. So this will allow the skating to happen and the lessons to happen at the same time. And also there's a really good opportunity for brand new kids, for people who've never skated before to use it and keep on progressing. That's the way they designed it. So that way, I think we're gonna get a lot more new users and some other people from the community that are gonna use it. So I think it's gonna be an awesome skate park, but they're all unique. They're all awesome in one way or another.
I thought it was interesting when I went to the outreach, a boy and his father came, and the boy was asking, I don't know what any of these terms are for skate parks. I'm not a big skater, maybe in my future. That was supposed to be a joke, but nobody smiled.
No, Hey, laughing in here.
Anyway, that he was asking all these questions and they were able to say, oh, yes, we're gonna have this over here and over here. So it seemed like a lot of the features that this skater boy was interested in, were going to be there. And when I'm looking at it, I thought, it seems like you put in a lot of features that look like a city street, which I guess they enjoy going downstairs and things of that
Yeah,
sort.
the more popular trend now is like the street skating elements, and that's why we're doing this. But we're trying to still have it flexible, that the other elements like the bowls and the drop-ins are there. And then one of the big things, and I think we mentioned the public outreach too, was that a big thing that the community wanted was the ability to skate the whole facility. You know, it's not
Oh.
just you use a feature, then you have to go to the next feature. It's, you can actually do this and then go around and keep going and kind of like skate the whole park in one continuous motion.
So we're just really waiting to be able to afford this.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll be ready to go when we find the money, but I'm sure the money will eventually come. Yes, Director Huffer.
I just had, I know it's still a ways off depending on the funding, but phase 3, what would be the approximate time frame in terms of demolishing the existing site and constructing the new site and up and ready to go?
6 to 8 months.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because I mean, it's flat work. It's not, it's not, you're not doing a whole bunch. You're taking it down and putting it back together again.
Okay. Thank you.
So do we, if there's no further questions or comments, do we have a motion to recommend approval for 1, 2, and 3?
So move.
Second?
I'll
Yes. Okay, Director Hull? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. On to number 2. So, this water plan seems to have Mr. Hare's name all over it. Am I correct?
One or two things in here. Yes. Thanks, Chair Custer, members of the board. Water conservation, if you didn't know, we're in a drought. These, it's just kind of, well, I'll kind of give you, kind of go over the report a little bit and give some highlights. A lot of it is what's been going on, what's going on now, and what the future looks like and how we've been doing. But, just, as you well know, that, history's shown that, hey, we're getting hotter, we're getting drier. Simple as that. That's throughout California that's happening. And then with the state, this particular, they have, our years a little bit, we go based on our fiscal years. Their water year is October 1st to September 30th. And their water year of 2022, looking at their stats there, precipitation for the state was at 76% of average, and the reservoir storage was at 69% of average. You see that graphic that we inserted there on page 44. It just shows a snowpack and how the last couple of years it's not been good. And the last 3 years have been the driest in history, driest 3-year period on state record. And this year they're looking at, it might be just as bad. So we might be going 4 years. So that's kind of like the big overall state, what's going on. As far as local current conditions, Callegas, which is a member of a metropolitan water district, those are our governing bodies, our suppliers. And then from Callegas, it goes down to our local suppliers, which are Cal Water, the City of Thousand Oaks, and Cal Am Water. And we actually do have Cam Rosa too, but it's very small. That's just McCray Ranch. But the area here, we're almost 100% solely dependent on the state water project. So we don't produce anything in here. So we're very reliant on whatever the state says is what happens. And in March of this year, they reduced our water allocation from the state water project. So things were not looking good. I know we've done a lot of meetings. I know I don't remember if you're chair then, Doug, but you were Director Nichols or whatever, went to the meetings at Callegas, and Jim attended the MWD meetings because they enacted a lot of restrictions upon us. And then even locally, this kind of City of Thousand Oaks had what they called adopted level 4, which kind of did a lot of water restrictions. Parks got a little bit extra because they Because I think on behalf of what our efforts were with our elected officials and other elected officials around here, that the importance of parks and recreation, have the importance to the communities, that we have healthy and safe land, turf for the community. And so, yeah, the noose is tightening, and even last action on August 30th, the city said instead of 15 minutes of watering per station, now it's 10 minutes of water per station. And even with all that said, as of September 29th, the city is 33% higher than the target that they're looking for. But thankfully, some of the other regions around us are doing better. They're using some of their groundwater. So just as a region, if you'd call it that, we're doing okay. And it's like on a month-to-month basis what the new restrictions may or may not be. So we got our fingers crossed that it's going to get a little bit wetter out here and we can do our best. So, but then for all the stuff that's happening, I'm really proud of our staff and the things and the efforts that we've taken for the direct response to this current drought situation. As everyone was there, we know at Page Lane, we decided not to turf that. So we lost 3 acres of turf, even though we theoretically could have, because that was before these restrictions were taking place. It was just a good idea. Again, we were talking about being a leader in the community and doing our fair share. That was really huge. We've done a lot of public outreach, and it really just wasn't just about what we're doing, but just trying to raise awareness for a drought for the whole community at all by placing parks in all of our signs. We've taken out as of about a month ago, we're about taking out about 3 acres of more turf. We've taken a few acres since then. And we've been doing a lot more irrigation and improvements and turf conversions, and we've been modifying our turf refurbishments. And I think right now, after a couple months, we're about 7% down from the year we were before. And I think even those numbers should get better as we go along. But so we're doing our part. But if you remember the last drought, we kicked some butt, and we're squeezing as much as we can out of what's going on now. And the near-term outlook is not good for up until December. They said it's gonna be pretty dry between now and December, and even the long-range outlook is still not good either. That's gonna be hotter and drier. So with all that said, the news doesn't look good, and all of the best we can do is continue what we do, is do our job. Again, we've used those words, do our fair share, be a leader in the community, have things like these water conservation plans, which I think is really good and helps us broadcast our efforts that we've made. And just to show everybody that it can be done. So I think we're doing a really good job of doing that, and kind of stepping back and kind of like what we've been doing since the last drought back in 2016. And I really like that term that they came up with the government came up with, making water conservation, making water conservation in California a way of life. I really like that term because it's true. It's got to be something that we just do. It's not, we just do it for a month or we do it for a year. It's something that needs to be done all the time. So we've used that as a guideline for us, because we know the community expectations we have. The community wants healthy green grass and places to, whether it's play sports, have a picnic, or just enjoy being with their family or with their friends or with their pets. And that's something we take very seriously, that we want to provide for the community. Because again, it's the outreach that's available to the community in these times. If they can't have it at home, at least we can provide it with the community's lawn. So, stepping back, I think the board, has had over the years, this current board and past boards have done a great job with the strategic planning efforts that we've done. Back in the day, we had a kind of a broad, hey, be sustainable. And that was everything, water, recycling, energy and all that. And we kept on breaking down. And actually we're getting more specific as the years have gone on. And I think I do applaud the board's commitment to the sustainability efforts that we have for whether it's water or solar, but it's done really well to say that we're again being a leader in the community. And it shows just, we've literally have put our money where our mouth is, that, we've gotten rid of over 70 acres over the past few years. We've done nearly $5 million worth of capital projects. And we've dedicated about $300,000 or more a year, except for the 1 year. was $235,000 for a drought response. This is doing, irrigation improvements and converting turf or putting down drought tolerant planting. But with all that said, we're doing all these great efforts, and I really, again, applaud the board for their vision, and I applaud our staff for their efforts they've made. It's always on the front of their minds. But with all that said, if you look at like the last 15 years, if you look on page 49, our expenditures, and now remember too, we've actually increased our acreage over the years, but we've more than doubled our expenditures, or just kind of like our overall cost. But we've doubled our expenditures, and our potable water we've actually decreased by 24%, and the unit cost has almost tripled from 15 years ago. So that's pretty telling what's been happening in the economy of water usage and water costs. But again, I'm glad we've done what we've done, because I think we'd be in a world of hurt if we haven't. So what specifically have we done? I just kind of want to specifically just kind of go over some broad things from the Making Water Conservation a California Way of Life. There's using water efficiency at every facility, and we do that all the time, whether it's on a daily basis with the crews doing irrigation checks, or it's when we sit down for planning meetings and talk what we do. We even start talking about, sometimes it's like I need to fix this or fix this, but then we're actually now start talking about below the ground. We're talking about this, because sometimes the staff will go, well, this soil sucks. That's why it just eats up the water. I go, okay, let's talk about the soil then. I mean, we're not talking about the water. Let's talk about the soil. Can we improve the soil so we can do more things? Or it's the type of turf that's out there. One of the things that I think we have somewhere in here that we talked about, we've been switching out from fescue grass to Bermuda grass, and that the Bermuda grass goes dormant in the wintertime and it survives, versus fescue has to be watered all year long, constantly. And Bermuda is a hardier grass. Now, it's not as aesthetically pleasing, because sometimes it turns like a little brown and a little tan in the wintertime, but it's just dormant. People think it's dead, but it's actually just dormant. And what we've done some big projects to actually swap out turf during turf refurbishments, but then even during for the neighborhood parks, what we'll do when we have to throw some seed down or do something, like we'll actually seed it with Bermuda. So it's the Bermuda starts slowly taking over with the fescue that's already out there. So we're slowly doing stuff like that and improving our efficiencies. Let's see, we're also, like I said, we're using the drought tolerant planting that we've been doing. It's been really successful and actually really pretty. I actually really like what we're doing out there. Andrew's been fantastic in designing what's out there. We get lots of comments from the community. I always like going back sometimes like a year later. Sometimes I don't see a park for 6 months or so. It might be a smaller neighborhood park, and you see all the drought tolerant planting like we did at some entryways. You go, ooh, that looks nice. Because it's all grown in. We've been using reclaimed water. We've got our 2 parks at North Branch Neighborhood Park and Toronto Community Park. Las Virgenes is kind of putting their focus on other places to use their recycled water. We're waiting one of these days. If they want to do a couple more parks, we're ready and able at like North Branch Playfield and Evenstar. We would love to put it there. And if the city of Thousand Oaks or Cal-Am ever had that, we'd be first in line to do those projects. We love those reclaimed water projects. And also we've done, again, a lot of public outreach, and believe me, the community is good in that they let us know when something is broken. A lot of times our irrigation happens, 10 at night till 6 in the morning. And how could you, it's midnight and it's on the sidewalk. We go, well, we're not there. But they're usually pretty nice about it. So we'll fix that the next day. We're very responsive. So we rely heavily on the community for that. And again, like with the public outreach, we try our best to put out the best signs that we got so they can contact us. And again, just for the public to know when something's wrong, we want them to call us so we could save water. We're very heavy into that. So just kind of concluding here, like, well, how we're doing overall. This last fiscal year, we're 15.5% below our water target of 503 units per acre. Overall, since we started tracking it in the last 15 years, we've decreased our water by nearly 33%. And then I was like, this one table that we have, like, well, what if we did nothing? We talked about all the stuff we've done and all the money we've spent, and what has this gotten us? So we got kind of the unmitigated versus mitigated, and where it's unmitigated, we think we would save, we're getting close to 1 million units of water, which is a little over 723,000 gallons of water, and about $5.7 million over the past 15 years. So, you know, yes, we spent a lot of money, but we saved a lot of money, and more importantly, we saved a lot of the resource, the water. So, yeah, with that, I see, yeah, we're committed to doing this. We're committed to doing this in the future. And again, thanks to the board for allowing us to do these things, because I think that's where we're about, having sustainable operation. We know this is the future, and I think the community appreciates it. And I think we're doing it the right way. And, you know, between other agencies and us, I think we can hopefully tackle this in the near future and in the long term. And I'm available for questions.
Well, that was an excellent report and an excellent presentation. I really enjoyed reading it, actually. Do you still have the same staff when you leave that's gonna put together these beautiful presentations that you do and like the skate park, the beautiful drawings and everything? I hope you're leaving us well,
I'm gonna take it all with me.
because you really do a nice job. Director Lang.
Yes, it might not have been you. I can't recall, but it's in the last couple of weeks. Had a discussion with somebody about a new type of grass that requires 60% less water. Does that ring?
No,
a bell?
it wasn't with me, no.
Okay, I had a couple conversations and I thought, well, maybe it was at the Page Lane Neighborhood Park opening. But
Yeah, we're constantly looking unfortunately, there's always someone out there selling you your, you know, Doc Lang's medicine that's
Well,
gonna
no,
cure
this is-
everything. But I mean, you know, we get that a lot from, oh, this is our, and because sometimes you go, I mean, I hope it's true. You know, I hope that stuff's
Can
true.
you look into it?
Yeah, we'll look into it, see what's out there. But yeah, we have an irrigation tech. That's what he does. And so we talk constantly about at least once a month on my level. And I'd say the guys are talking about daily about what new products are out there and how some different water saving efforts. So, but yeah, we'll look into that.
Yeah, and specifically it was 60% less.
Okay.
And you had kind of alluded to this, CRPD compared to other agencies, we're kind of leading the way. And I recall we were the very first park district in our area to take such drastic steps that we did. Currently, do you know how Pleasant Valley and Rancho Cini are doing in their water
No.
conservation plans?
No, I don't. No, I don't know their numbers.
Thank you.
Okay, Director Huffer.
Just a comment first on what Director Lang said. I recall several years ago when maybe it was the dog park issue, someplace where we were taking turf out and we had a gentleman come in, I believe he referred to himself as a doctor of something.
Yes,
And
I do
told us
remember
that
him.
he knows of a turf that can do, it was at least 60%. Might have been the same gentleman that you talked to at Page Lane. But yeah,
Nothing came that we.
the
talked to
claims
him,
are out there. If it's possible, I know that our staff will take care of it, but
And that gentleman would be a billionaire.
I really appreciate the monthly water reports that you send out to us, the annual updates like this. You know, it's some of the numbers, you know, we see them pretty regularly. New numbers are helpful, but the job that the staff has done over the last 8 to 10 years or 12 years has been absolutely spectacular. But with all that effort, a lot of this or some of this is out of our hands.
Mhm.
If the drought continues and if MWD says no outdoor watering of any kind, despite all the efforts and everything that we have done successfully, it's out of our hands. So we sort of have to, we can do what we can do, but there's some things we have no control over.
Right, and current language, you know, if not enacted, but current language talks about no outdoor watering, except for parks and recreation. That was that's nothing's proposed. I'm just, that's a draft from several months ago, but like you said, that can change. But that's something that if it comes to that, I think that's with the efforts that we did on the lobbying side, whether it's us and other agencies, I think hopefully we can.
Yeah, we certainly have the facts and figures
Right.
to demonstrate everything that we've done. So hopefully the people in charge are willing to listen.
Right,
So-
right. And it's kind of what I really like about what we've done is that, and well, the difference that they've had is that there's, now they're talking about this is what you can and can't do on a daily basis. And where the last one was, here's your target. And we'd like to be, well, let us decide what, give us our target, we'll meet it or exceed it versus this is how you should do things. And by having this plan, I think, and being fairly detailed with results and what we're doing, the governing bodies have been very pleased with our results and what we're doing. So I think just even having this makes our case rather than saying, oh, don't worry, we're good or we're fine. So that we're having this water conservation plan. And again, that's something that we started at the board's direction, whatever it was 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. It has helped out tremendously. And it's, again, we always talk about processes. This is a process that we developed. It was very, very hard to put together the first couple of years, but we refined it, tweaked it over the years. And now it's kind of just, data. It's, I don't want to say easy, but it's a lot easier than it was 10 years ago. But it helps us tremendously with our efforts and with our governing bodies.
Yeah, and I know that our monthly updates and these annual updates are all available on our website, but is this information pushed out to the city?
Yes.
Or Cayugas or NWD?
When the poop hit the fan like 6 months ago or so, I've been including the city sustainability folks and also Cayugas on it to let them know. And I get comments from them on when I send it out, they, thumbs up, great job, guys. That's usually their reply after I send out the monthly.
Okay, and then just one last sort of random question, because I've seen this in reports regularly about the 10,000 irrigation heads controlled by this irrigation control system.
Mhm.
I guess maybe I should have you show it to me. Are each of these 10,000 irrigation heads connected by wire or something? or-
Yes, yes.
Really?
Yeah, well, not all 10,000, but each park.
Yeah,
Each park. So when you lay out it from a controller, like say if we were irrigating this room, we'd have a controller, and to each, from the controller to the valve is a wire, and not to the head. Sorry, to the valve saying shut on, shut off, and that's how it controls it, just like you do at home. A little bit.
I turned it all off, so nothing
Okay.
happens at home.
But it's a little, obviously a little bit more technologically advanced than your home, but it's fairly simple. But so we have these computer-based systems that we communicate with wirelessly, that then communicate through a wire, a hard wire to the valve, which turns your sprinklers on and off.
Okay.
But it's park, and there might be 3 or 4, like Banana Creek South. I think we've got like 5 or 6 controllers out there because it's just so big. But like a smaller park will have 1, and medium park will have a couple, and large park will have 3 to 5.
Okay, thank you, and great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll come over to this side, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Hare, thank you for the detailed responses to my questions this afternoon via email. I don't want to be selfish and keep them to myself, however. So I was
Please.
wondering if you
I will
wouldn't mind
answer them
if I
again,
just-
no problem.
if I just kind of went through them, if you could
Sure.
briefly restate, and I'll just start with the first one, which is, how did you come up with a target of 503 units per acre of water? I guess that's per year, units per acre per year.
Yeah, correct. 500 units per acre per year.
So I just wonder, how was that target established?
Yeah, good question. We established that a few years back. It was probably about 2015, 2016. What you do to do that. So we took, again, this is the best we could do with the information that we have. We took what we thought was a typical acre. Yeah, how much turf is on the acre, how much turf is in that acre, how many trees, how many plants, how many shrubs, what the types were, et cetera, et cetera. So then you have to figure out what your irrigation need for that particular acre. And then you take the typical, month, so you do it month by month. So you started with July being the first month of the fiscal year. What is the typical rainfall in July? What is the temperature of July? And then there's also what's called the evapotranspiration rates. It's how much water the soil, can, has versus how much does it give off because of, you know, the different types of soils there. And even the crazy part, again, we did our best because even the soils and the evapotranspiration rates in Dos Vientos are much different than the ones in North Ranch, and they change, yeah, as you move throughout the whole park system. So we got those calculations and those formulas. So we come up with how many units per acre for each individual month, and then we add them together. And we did, it was kind of neat. It was almost like a peer review thing. Matt Kuba and I did them separately, like, okay, you do yours. Let's see where we come out to. You know, I came up with the 503, and Matt came up with like 498. We were like, oh, wow, we're pretty close. Because it was a lot. It took us half a day to do these calculations. And then because we wonder, man, if he comes out with 1,000, I came with 500. Let's read, where are we? So where are we wrong or right? So that's how we came up with the 503. Now, what I'm really excited about, and have been excited for 6 or 7 years, and it still hasn't come, the state promised in 2015, 2016, that they were going to take it to the next level, that they were going to aerial, you know, using aerial mapping, look at their different regions, like say MWDs, and say, this is how much water you get, you know, based upon your needs aerially. And then MWD was to tell that to Callegas, who was going to tell that to Cal-Am and Cal Water and the city. And then those people could actually then tell us, this is how much you know, this is your water. It's more like a water budgeting thing based upon aerial and each park. You know, so that we come with a much more refined number than 503. And I would love to see what that number is, because are we, you know, high, low? I actually suspect we're probably, you know, we're actually, the 503 is like low. It's a conservative number as far as we're looking. I bet you we're even higher, or that what we're allowed. But they also look at it on an individual basis. You could appeal to, you know, for different reasons, because I'm sure they have, I don't know how they're going to do it, but, you know, where they have just a template and how they do it. But, you know, maybe a sports field, we can appeal, oh, that needs more water than a neighborhood park for these reasons. And so you can kind of change your water budget. So it was supposed to be, they said in like 2015 that they would come out with those numbers in 2022. And every year I've been checking, they say 2022, 2022. Of course, in 2022, they said, I would tell you it's going to be 2023. So I hope it comes out soon, because I would love to see that number. Again, this is just, it's not a nuts on number that we have to 503, but I think it's pretty good, you know, as far as what we came up with. And that's where, you know, we came up with our baseline, because we wanted something for us to shoot for before the state came down with their number, you know, 7 years later. So we had to come up with some sort of objective and goal for us.
Thank you. Another question I have, which was on the Bermuda, you partially answered that. The Bermuda conversion was targeting playfields, is that correct?
Yeah, most of those particular ones, because we've done it at Thousand Oaks Community Park already. We recently did it the last couple of years, the last 2 big conversions, and those are actually capital improvement projects, because it's much more than a refurbishment. So those were retrofitting a playfield in Dos Vientos. Those are the next ones we've done. And so we've done a lot of our sports fields because of that reason, because of the heavy use that it gets. And also and I don't remember if I mentioned before, but Bermuda repairs itself a lot better. It just, you know, even if it gets a little worn down, but all by itself, it kind of grows back healthy versus a fescue. But we've been, you know, we won't go for a full take out all the grass at neighborhood park and replace it with Bermuda. We've just been slowly, because that's a lot of money, doing more of the overseeding process with Bermuda.
Is at some of the neighborhood parks?
Some of the neighborhood parks, yes.
And is that a long-term goal to replace all
Yeah.
the fescue?
But on a 7-8 year, like starting it today, I mean, we've been doing it for a couple of years, but starting it now, just a little bit of time of overseeding, not rip out, replace. It's just overseed. And 8 to 10 years from now, the dominant turf at a particular neighborhood park, or most of the neighborhood parks will be Bermuda instead of fescue.
Okay, and that's just for water conservation.
Yes.
This is obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, and just on regarding the play fields. You mentioned it that the Bermuda kind of restores itself
Mhm.
almost. But how is it for durability on the play fields compared to the
So
fescue?
really, really good. Yeah, that, again, that's why we use it too. It's a more durable than fescue. It's a shorter grass. And it's much more durable. And like I said, yeah, again, like when it goes dormant and stuff, Bermuda does a good job of like with protecting itself, whether it's from lack of water or from a cleat. It does a much better job.
And how does the TIF-Crane version of that compare with just a straight Bermuda as far as its water demand, durability, and maintenance?
Well, I'd have to, I'd have to look at that, but right, there's different, you should talk about different varieties of the Bermuda.
Well, TIF-Crane is what you see in the Rose Bowl.
Right.
And also typically golf course greens.
Well,
We'll
we've
have
been
some of
using a
that.
lot of the GN1 is our preferred. The GN1 Bermuda is what we use
Okay.
a lot. So I mean, I couldn't tell you the differences between them. I
was
just,
curious.
staff has done their research. And a lot of times, and again, just maybe this is right, because sometimes with professional sports or like college sports like Rose Bowl, a lot of it's done for it. Yes, it's the durability, but also it's also for the aesthetics too, because you want to look good on TV.
Yeah.
So more people go to the Rose Bowl
Yeah.
or go to different sporting events. So it might have they'll spend a little extra money
Yeah.
for the aesthetics.
And I thought that's what you were gonna tell me is it's a wonderful grass, but it's very high maintenance, so we can't use it.
Yeah, it's true. It's I don't know if I also remember a few years back, they had the Rose Bowl on whatever day, New Year's Day, and then like 2 days later, they had the college football championship. And they were actually, they didn't even do it. It was fascinating. They actually took sod and put it on top of the turf. It wasn't about repair, because they wanted to look absolutely brand spanking new. And they just took these heavy, like it was, I think they said about 12 to 18-inch rolls of sod and put it all over the entire turf. So it looked beautiful for the championship game. Money,
I don't think we're gonna be doing that.
no.
Okay. All right, and then the last thing that I appreciated your answer was on the objectives portion on number 4, use of recycled water and groundwater, was referring to the availability of it, whether it's recycled and groundwater. And I was questioning how we could make that an objective, because we have no control over either one of those. Except I did question, do we have some rights or something with groundwater? Because obviously it's the water purveyors that we have to rely on to provide that, and then obviously we can tap into it. So I just was curious, how do you make that an objective, and what were you envisioning with that?
Yeah, because our feeling with like these objectives, it's not to say that we're positive it's going to happen, but just something we want to be. I'd rather take the aggressive approach that we're saying, hey, if recycled water or groundwater becomes available, we're the first ones at the door saying, let's do this. And that's why it's one of our objectives, but rather than being silent on it and saying, well, it's out of our control, so I won't put it as an objective, because yeah, that's something we're always exploring on different ways to be more sustainable, whether it's for electricity or for gas or for water. And then like for the groundwater, I know I didn't expand on that. I did with emailing back to you, but with the groundwater, the city of Thousand Oaks is the lead on that with a consultant. They've put almost all their efforts into the well over at the golf course, because it's about the economics of that. And a lot of the economics for the wells that we have, we've got one at North, one at Orchard, or abandoned wells. One at North, one at Orchard. I think we've got one at South, and I think the other one's a Wildfire. I think we've got 4 total.
The Gray Rant.
Yeah. I don't know if that one's really, yes, I'll just say yes. Yeah. But the economy, the return on investment is like 100 and something years, because it's just be able to the amount of money that has to be put into it to do it and to treat it, to distribute it. And then we would talk about the details later on, meaning like the one at Orchard, we would love to partner with the school district on that, and they're in too, but even between us and the school district, it makes no economic sense whatsoever, so we'd have to then get Cal-Am involved and maybe serve some of the residents and get the cost just change and get higher and higher. But something, again, we're always interested in, we're always have our seat at the table, whether it's recycled water or for groundwater, but we'll always want to be involved and sort of try to do our best to control the process for its best for us and best for the community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know, obviously, anytime you do something a little bit out of the ordinary, it's gonna cost more, you know, whether it's an existing well that you're trying to restart or drilling again. You know, those types of things, but I know they're cost effective, but if you have no water, then you do things like that.
Mhm.
So that's why I just was curious, you know, do we have water rights? Is there even any water down there in which to tap into? Yeah, obviously cost is going to be an issue, but like I said, if you have no water,
Mhm.
then you
Correct.
do what you have to get water.
Correct. Yeah, no, the city's done all the studies about the water levels because there's not just us, it's other wells or potential wells throughout the community. The water levels, like I said, generically have discussed water rights and generically have discussed some of the issues that would be before us, and we put money to it. And yeah, right, it might come to, doesn't matter about the cost, you know, you have to do it. So hopefully it doesn't come to that, but that is, and then some of that, even I know the city did at Los Angeles Golf Course, a lot of that money came from grant money they got from the state. So if California is drying up, and maybe a lot of the money then becomes towards grant money towards these type of projects, whether it's here or other parts of California.
So I appreciate that. I especially appreciate your early comment about, you know, at first it was an idea, hey, maybe we could save a little water, you know, and as you go through this path, it becomes more and more refined and you find better ways to do things and you'll find more opportunities. And it's another one of those things where you would have never thought about it 20 years ago, but now it becomes on the front burner rather than the back burner. And so with you bringing this information to us, it's very helpful. Again, I mean, not something we're going to be, you know, embarking on tomorrow, but it could be out there in the future. And it's nice to have a little information in advance so we can be prepared and have a shovel-ready project, as I
Correct.
like to say, when that time were to come. So appreciate the thoroughness and, you know, just kind of getting some of those juices flowing on, you know, what we may be up against in maybe the not too distant future.
Correct.
So appreciate that. Thank you for the report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Director Holt, do you have comment or question? Okay,
One other question that occurred to me, somewhere in the report, you mentioned, I've heard the term used before, but bioswales. And in the report, you said that for any new parks, and, you know, we've only had one new park recently, that we use bioswales, and as we're refurbishing some existing parks, it might include that. Is this a way of capturing runoff water?
Not necessarily capturing, just more slowing down the water that's there. So it stays on the property longer. It doesn't necessarily capture it and keep it because that's a whole another different subject. But like at Page Lane, if you look at the southern end of Page Lane from both sides of Page, above Page Lane, yeah, that's where our bioswale is. So it just, all the water drains to the south, stays in that channel. And so again, we're just hopefully it slows it down so there's more chance for it to stay on property and to irrigate the shrubs and turf that's there.
Okay. And there's nothing significant that the district could do in actual, if we ever have any rainwater capture?
That's no. Well, of course, the answer is always yes, you could. But again, lots of money. We've talked about cisterns but the amount of water capture you would have to irrigate a park is enormous. So it's just better for us to, instead of capturing it, it's better just to slow it down and keep it on property.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm not gonna have anything to say. You're answering all of my questions. Thank you, Director.
On the
Black.
topic of bioswales, and you weren't on board at the time, but Old Meadows Park experienced a lot of damage on our last, I don't know if it's our last big rainstorm, but a major one. And bioswales was part of the major controlling feature around Old Meadows to minimize, property damage and channel of the controlling feature.
Any other comments? Well, I had written down bioswales. And I was wondering if that area at Page Lane was a bioswale. And if there was any way it was capturing water, but that was all answered, so thank you. Great minds think alike.
They do.
He was looking
I
at
had
your notes.
also underlined the I Central irrigation. I even Googled it. I found this so fascinating that you would be able to control all of these heads by the weather. So I'm assuming you've got a satellite dish somewhere?
Well,
or
it's not our satellite dish. I mean, we're not there yet. We've got
You're
the-
using a
We're
satellite.
gonna put up
dish.
the SS Lang up there at some point for our satellite dish.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
just-
right. No, there's weather stations. So when we actually go, this is actually something very, I didn't bring this up, but then I just remembered it popped in my head. We use different, and I forget what the acronym is, CIMIS. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's the local weather stations
Okay,
that are around. So our controllers communicate with the weather stations and it tells them what is by like zip code. It tells like the 91320s is telling it that the weather station tells those controllers what to do. And we can always manually override too, but then 91360, so we actually tried, it was about a year-long process to get our own weather station. And because we thought it'd be more appropriate and because sometimes, they're not nearby or, it's not exactly what we want to do. And we were just told last week, no. Unfortunately, I mean, of course, we can put something in, but it wouldn't be an advance that they have. The weather stations that they would put in, they were worried about the public accessibility to the weather stations, and there was really no place that they found suitable in any of our parks to put it. So, but we'll still bug them to do that because, like you're saying, I think it's fascinating how I'm sure there's, like you said, satellite goes to the weather station, or excuse me, the weather station goes to satellite, which goes to our controllers, which tell us ahead what to do.
I thought that was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was trying to picture that and I couldn't get enough information from the website I went to. Anyway. Yeah, we could have a whole field trip on that. The other thing I wanted to talk to you was about the Bermuda grass. It's also called, didn't you say it was St. Augustine in here, or did you refer to it as Bermuda?
Bermuda.
Is Bermuda and St. Augustine the same grass?
I've never heard it called that, but if you'd like to call it.
No?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, I had some kind of grass. I thought it was St. Augustine. I think they're related. Is it the kind that puts roots underneath and then it comes up every once in a while? Like all over the place? And it gets real thick? Oh, okay, maybe not.
Dry zones.
I don't
There-
know, but
there's
I'm just
different-
saying,
Yeah,
I had some kind of grass back when we had grass, and in our backyard, we took it all out. We dug it all out. We put in seed, it came back. We put in turf, it came back. On my parkway, we planted it. The St. Augustine went under the sidewalk. It went in there, or the Bermuda, whatever it was we had. Now I have artificial turf in my front yard that has been dug down. Sand has been put in there, mesh has been on top, and in the seams and along the sidewalk, it comes up. And so I don't know if it's the same grass, but yes, it's hardy.
yeah.
I
So-
mean, it's very hard.
Yes, sometimes even I'd have to trust my staff in this, but a lot of times it's a hardy grass, but it might not be good for recreational use.
Well, I don't know. I was just
Talking
wondering.
Florida grass.
Yeah, when you said maybe that's why mine was called St. Augustine, but maybe it was Bermuda. I don't know, but it was very hardy. One other thing I thought of when you were talking about all the things you've done, and I've said this before, a good park doesn't just have to be grass, and a lot of the things you've done with all of the walkways a lot of people are using the walkways and, you know, the shade structures, the picnic areas, the large trees, the landscaping, and I think that it is good that we're being an example, especially when you're showing the drought tolerant plants that are there and showing people that, you know, what can look nice in their yards. So I'm glad that we're at the forefront of that. So our parks are good, but maybe they can even be better, just kind of like, you know, COVID brought out ways that they could get more use out of their pools. Maybe we can actually get more use out of our parks than just having large, you know, areas of grass. So hopefully that will be the goal. It looks like we need to approve this. No, we don't have to approve it because it said we have to review and approve, but we don't have to vote on that approval. We're just moving on. Okay. So let's go on to C, which it says 3 vehicles, and this sounds like it's something that Mr. Hare would like to talk about
Sure, this
also.
one, again, looks like last time, no more questions. No,
You know what? I actually am reading, it says review and approve annual update on the water conservation plan.
That's why I was
Sure.
wondering.
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead?
So we'll go ahead and approve it. Do I have a motion to
So moved.
approve? Okay, Director Lang, do we have a second? Director Holt, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. And let's move on to vehicles.
Okay, thanks, Chair, Tesla, members of the board. We got 3 new vehicles we'd like to be purchasing. We got 2 bids, one from Paradise, I think it's Paradise Chevrolet. Yeah, Paradise Chevrolet, and the other one's from Fairview Ford. So they're replacing 3 other trucks that have seen the end of their useful life. And the one, when we're selling the ones we're getting rid of, we're actually selling them to Canal Valley Unified School District. And then kind of a neat side thing, about a year ago, we purchased about 8 vehicles, 6 to 8 vehicles here for the new Rangers. These 2023s are going to be here before the 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, yeah. So these ones were on the lot and they're ready to be provided to us. But
There
the-
goes my questions.
yeah, so that's what, but we still got, I know, George, you said you wanted to see when the new Ranger trucks get outfitted. That's still a note, and that was a year ago. We'll get you there when they come in. But these ones will come in before, and it's, I mean, you're more than welcome to see that. But the Ranger trucks are pretty cool when they get outfitted versus ground trucks. I'm available for questions.
Are there any questions about these trucks? Well, oh,
It's not a
please.
question, it's a
Director
comment.
Lang.
At our MRCA meeting yesterday, we're informed that we're gonna get, I don't know how many this. Melissa,
We're pending a vehicle order from July of 2021 for 14 vehicles.
Nice.
finally coming in. So I'm glad these are in inventory.
Yep.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I did have one question. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Um,
Director Holt, you had- Oh, I was just gonna ask you, do we often get pretty reasonable bids from Paradise Chevrolet?
In the past, the recent past, Fairview Ford's been beating them out. Paradise Chevrolet, again, just from memory, usually comes in second or third from the bids for Fairview Ford. We're actually pretty surprised at this one because Fairview Ford, I think, has won like 4 of the last 5 or
Oh,
5 of the
okay.
last 6.
Yeah, I didn't remember. It's not something we see too frequently. but
Correct, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Holt, you had,
I was just gonna move, the recommendation.
Okay, do we,
They're not ready,
I'll second the motion.
okay, all in favor?
aye,
Aye. I just had one comment. I was gonna say, you did say that they had outlived their useful life, but obviously not, because the school district can still use them.
Well, that's a different subject.
Uh, Well, maybe they don't need as heavy of duty trucks as we do, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, but I have a huge renewed interest in Ranger trucks, so when these do come in, then you'll have to let me know so I can go see this.
Sure.
It's been so high on Director Lang's, radar that we get these trucks in. All right, so I think we're gonna move on. An investment policy update sounds like Mrs. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Chair and Directors. So this evening, we have some revisions for the investment policy for you. We typically review this annually. Last time we did it in December. I'm bringing it to you a little early because we have some revisions specific to address some issues for the MRCA. Through our joint powers agreement, CRPD is both the finance officer and provides financial services to CRPD. So CRPD's investment policy acts as MRCA's investment policy. So that is how this has all kind of come about. The MRCA is structured really differently than CRPD in that a lot of the money it receives is for specific projects. Sometimes these funds are advanced to us. We've actually pushed for that because especially these large projects, we don't want it to impact the cash flow for daily operations of the agency. But the catch is when you get a big amount of money up front for a project, they have different investment policies that they want those funds to be set aside for. So some of those mean they can't commingle with other agency funds. They need to be tracked in a certain way. Some of them want a certain percent to be cash liquid. Other different rules depending on the entity that's providing those funds. So for I spoke with both Leif and the Ventura County pool. They're not able to create multiple accounts for MRCA. They're not able to do the sub accounting that we would require. So the changes to this investment policy would allow us to seek other entities to provide those services. It would still be compliant with all the California government investment rules and whatever the rules are from that grantor of the funds. It would just allow us to find another provider so we could actually invest these funds. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer, but that's kind of everything in a nutshell.
Are there any questions? Yes,
Yeah.
Director Nichols?
Thank you. Just to clarify, make sure I understand this completely. There's no reason for this change except for to meet the needs for MRCA, correct? Now, there's the Nail Rec and Park District doesn't need this within the policy. It's to assist MRCA because we are the financial arm of that agency.
Correct, but this does mean that if CRPD were to get a similar grant, frequently most of the state grants now are having this requirement, so it could be used for CRPD if that situation were to arise in the future.
You're saying that, would that be like state of California grants in particular?
Yes, most of the MRCA grants that are in this situation are from the state of California, Resources Agency or state parks. And they're now including that language that the funds need to be held separate. And so this would allow us, if we got funds for a grant for that purpose, we would be able to do the same thing.
And if, as you explained, Ventura County, the pool is not able to accommodate that in the standard that you often have to use, would this be a private entity then, third party, that you would be seeking to hold these assets?
Very likely, I would probably reach out to our different banking providers and giving them the timelines that we would be able to project with the project managers to see what the needs are. I also rely heavily on the CSDA and their recommended vendors like CLAF and CalTrust would probably be two go-to entities that I would reach for. And they're very familiar with this situation because they do so much work with state.
Okay. And then the only other thing that kind of popped up to me was said to separate agency agreements. We do have some other agreements. I'm just thinking like with the city Thousand Oaks, for example, for Casca. Is that relative to this at all, or is this something different?
This is something different. So it's basically to be applied where if that separate agency agreement is saying that you need to handle the funds differently than this policy would allow. So there's nothing in any agreement with the city that tells us we can't commingle our funds or anything like that. Whereas when we have an agreement with a state grant or something, they are including that in the paperwork.
Okay.
So there would have to be that language in the paperwork to trigger this.
And I would presume that's because the state wants to be able to look at that dollar figure separately at all times and know how it's being used, and you can tell them exactly.
Yes, and they also make sure that any earnings from that is assigned to the project itself instead of being used for other
Okay.
purposes of the
Right.
grantee.
All right, I'm better understanding it. Still not able to do it like you do, but I'm better understanding it. So thank you.
No one knows it like Melissa.
Any other question? All right, so we want to adopt this updated investment policy. Do we have a motion? Yes, Director Huffer.
I'll move that we adopt staff recommendation to adopt the district's updated investment policy.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that adoption.
Okay, Director Lang. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. So, recreation highlights. Is there anything that anybody has seen that they would like to comment on item 10 for our reports and announcements? Yes, Director Lang.
Yes, on the recreation highlights. Good to see the activities associated with Halloween and at the different venues. Have we had a report back on the Reign of Terror or how they did or are doing this year?
Not yet. They're actually still going.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they're doing it this weekend as well.
they didn't.
Well, they'll do, when they close it out is when we usually get an invite to meet them at the Jant's Marketplace. So that ends up being closer to December. Yeah.
And then I was glad, Rochelle, to see the field trip out at Underwood Farms with our outreach or safe passage group. Again, you kind of envision these children not having opportunities like this if it wasn't for CRPD. Great experiences in their youth and memories that they'll probably take with them forever. Thank you for all the activities you're doing.
Any other comments? Okay, well, it is always wonderful to see all of this. Thank you and to your team. We'll look forward to hearing more from you, because you haven't been able to say anything yet. All right, let's go on to our Parks Division report.
Okay, I'll talk some more.
Yes, we'll never tire of you.
So, looking back recently, thank you so much for those that attended, and a huge success at the open house for the Rangers at Cameron Center. That was stupendous. I'm glad the amount of people that showed up. That was a really good time. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And then the ribbon cutting this past weekend was phenomenal at Page Lane Park. That was amazing. I think that we did not advertise tacos and Mr. Softy for that reason. So I'm thinking, 50 people or something like that. I think it was closer to like 200 that were there. It was insane. And everyone was so happy. The weather was beautiful. It was all really good. That was a great time. So thank you for coming to that. Did some initial, we had an initial call with the city of Thousand Oaks. Just the other day, they want to take the lead on doing some solar carports at Teen and Goble and the library at Canary Creek North. And we asked them to throw in the park too, in the rear. So that's an initial conversation, but that's something that might come up real quick because there's some legislation, favorable stuff that they have to act upon in like next spring sometime. So I think that's hopefully that gets legs, and that's something we do. And again, the city will probably take the lead on it, and we'll just participate. Again, being at the table, making sure the facilities are done the right way, and then with Canary Creek North, if that is part of it, the actual park part, that we might contribute financially towards that, because that would be our 100% to our benefit. Party in the Park is this weekend. It should be a good time, and hopefully everything there will be well done. We met with Brian Hines a couple days ago on site, walked with him. Everything seems to be under control. As a reminder too, that we're protecting the parking lots with security at the Teen, Goble, Library, and Canary Creek South for soccer. So Party in the Park, the Borderline Memorial Celebration is this upcoming Saturday. And we met with Brian Hines, who's the promoter, and looks like everything's in line and going well. But I said, we also are going to be providing security. We're providing and then get reimbursed by him to protect the parking and the patrons at the Teen Center, Goble Center, the library, and Canary Creek South for AYSO. So that way, Party in the Park goers don't go park in those particular lots. So that's upcoming. So, and because it's a little bit bigger than normal, we might get some calls, and you might get some calls, and that's I wanted to let you know about that. Real excited. I think we mentioned this last time, but the pickleball prioritization board item will be at the next, we're about 90% done with the board report, and that should be coming up in a couple weeks. Very excited about that. What else you got going on? Real exciting things. The photo contest, we'll be sending you some photos so you guys can vote on that. And the most important thing, finally, they've lifted travel restrictions from the North Pole down to Newbury Park. Santa will be in person this year in Newbury Park. And he's asked me to carry on the message to you guys that he'll be down there. I'll send, because he's not really good with the computer, I'll send out some emails for him tomorrow or early next week about the details and when Santa's going to be there, and then it'll be the all the benefit from it. It goes to the unwrapped toys that we get goes towards Play Canal. I'm available for questions. Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, do we have any questions for Mr. Hare?
We mentioned the party in the park. We are gonna have staff out there. And they will be making sure that no one parks at Canal Creek South.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Yes, so we have security. Now, what, not our staff, but security. We've hired security to protect Keene, Goble, Library, and Canal Creek South.
Maybe it was in the presentation they did some months ago, but where are they going to park 3,000 people if they're?
They could be at North, and I believe they're going to go into TO High School also, and also Canal Creek West and Northwest.
And I just, the ribbon cutting, I think technically we probably need to rebrand it as a ribbon pulling rather than a ribbon cutting. But, yeah.
Noted.
Come on.
Any other comments? Okay, Mrs. Callis?
Sure, thank you, Chair Cusworth, members of the board. So just a couple of things since everything's in your packet nowadays. So thank you for attending the sneak peek on the 60th anniversary video. We're very excited to show that to the community on November 18th, 4:30. And we did get information or confirmation that we will be able to show the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving TV show also. So we will be having a birthday party with a presentation from our general manager and board members. And then showing a little Charlie Brown Thanksgiving video also. So that should end around 6. And then we did give out candy at the mall this on Halloween, just to do that. We have the teen center that is currently moving around their stuff and getting ready to open. So they have the inside of the teen center, and they've been working really hard to just clean it up, get everything in where it goes. Thanks to Tom's team also that's been helping move the big stuff. So that should be opening soon on the inside. We will have a new face at our front desk here at Hillcrest. We have an administrative assistant that will be starting on November 14th. So I'll be sending out information on her so you guys can say hello to her. And then Caneo Coalition for Youth and Family, we just had our last meeting for the year, and we'll be reconvening in February with some new faces since Susan will not be with us on that meeting anymore. So hopefully she'll join us on the February meeting to say goodbye, and then hopefully we'll have a new person on that committee. Yeah, and Cindy may or may not. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions, comments? Okay, let's move on to management services.
Sure. I have no report, but I'm available for questions.
Okay, general manager, Mr. Frito?
Sure, some quick calendaring things. Monday's a really big day here. It's one of the most important things we get involved with is hiring really good people, and we're going to be doing our Parks and Planning Administrator interviews on Monday. Tom won't change his mind, so he's retiring. Election day is Tuesday, as you guys all know, so some of you guys are gonna be involved very heavily in that. I will be speaking at the Peppernine's Public Policy School that day about local government, which is kind of cool. We do have a special meeting next Thursday, and we will be putting out that agenda probably Tuesday night. To let everyone know that special meeting's coming. We do have to post the notices associated with that and get them to the newspaper for publication in time. So there'll be this time period where we have to send those public notices off before we actually post the agenda, which is kind of an interesting dilemma to be in, but we've got, so we'll probably be sharing with the Acorn on Monday what the subject of that is. Then it's Veterans Day on Friday next week. And then I just wanted to add to what Rochelle already mentioned, that the 60th anniversary is Friday, November 18th. You should all have in your packet the nice invites that Rochelle made. So please share them with people, like get friends to come. And if you need more of these, we'll get you more. We can get you an electronic version as well if you want to just do an email. But we do want to have a nice showing. It should be short and sweet. We kind of, the theory is get folks coming home from work early on a Friday, have a toast, celebrate, say happy birthday, show that really cool video. We're going to have a lot of the old photos, all the old photos we can dig up are going to be showing continuously on the screen. We'll have the timeline out and this big giant pull-out section from the newspaper. We're getting a couple hundred extras of those as a giveaway, kind of a keepsake. So it's kind of short and sweet, but we'd like, friends to be there, and especially folks that have been around a while to kind of just say happy birthday for 60 years. So it should be fun. With that, I am available for questions.
Any questions, Director Lang?
Yeah, well, first, in reference to, oh, shoot. What was the first topic you mentioned, Jim?
Tom is going to retire, and we have to find someone better than Tom.
Okay.
When is your retirement expected? December 30th.
And then the other question, Jim, at the 60th anniversary event, will you be also showing the video of the past that we did for the National Rec and Park Award?
No, we're focusing on the 60th one that just got created. The 50th, which was what we did the other one for. The NRPA was our 50th. We might dust that off and like kind of re-release it.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, we
it's
have to-
online on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then the 60th will get released on the 18th after our party.
Okay.
So if you go on YouTube right now, you can't see it, but you can see a countdown for when it's going to be released.
I've already,
Anticipation.
I can't wait.
I've already started informing family and friends about the 60th, so hopefully there'll be a big showing.
Any other comments or questions? Is there food?
Snacks. We're
There will be
cake?
birthday party treats.
Oh.
So we will have like cupcakes and some beverages and then a toast. And then we're working on a kettle corn guy to hopefully have some fresh popcorn for the movie.
Oh, okay.
So, but you're more than welcome to bring your own dinner. Pardon?
Who will be?
Oh, it's this group called AYSO.
Oh,
They're gonna work their snack shack for us.
Hey, awesome.
But yeah, but if families come to watch the little show, like bring a picnic, dinner or whatever, so.
Okay, great. So now we're down to our director's reports. How about if we start over here, Director Nichols?
All right. Let's me get my list here. In an unofficial capacity, I attended the haunted trail. And that was to make sure my grandkids survived that haunted trail, which they did, had a great time. And I thought the staff, as they often do, did a fantastic job. Their energy, their creativity is awesome, just to give them some space and a little free time, and miracle happens. But thank you to Rochelle for your team on that. Then the anniversary event and the Page Lane, I think Chuck called it a ribbon pull, not a ribbon cutting. But that was fun, and also the Ranger headquarters. Then a couple activities with the California Association of Recreation Park Districts, one of which was the conference committee, where we're continuing to refine the conference that'll be May of next year. I think it's like 17th or 20th something, don't quote me, something in there. It'll be at the Tenaya Lodge up at Yosemite. It'll be a fun place. We're trying to work on some pre-conference events, so it's not just being indoors for 3 days. And then I also had for the same entity, CARPD, our legislative committee met to interview lobbyists. We increased our budget so we could increase our lobbying on Capitol Hill. And so we had some firms that we were interviewing. I can't release any names because it's at this point just a recommendation to the board. So the board has to approve that. But we're looking to expand our footprint in the state. We want to be heard. And not only that, but probably even to the national level. So we're looking forward to move forward on that. So it's a great group to work with. It's exciting to hear what others have to say that are so much in line what we think about. And now you're getting a group together that's actually trying to move this forward. So hopefully some good things coming up next year. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Director Holt.
Well, October's been kind of a busy month, actually. Of course, we had the regular board meetings. And I've been, as most of you have been, to pickleball committee meeting, red carpet, 60th anniversary event, Cameron Center, Costco Range headquarter meeting. Did I say that right? And Rangers. Ranger. And then the Page Lane Park ribbon cutting. So, I mean, that's been quite a bit. And of course, as Rochelle mentioned, the first day of November, we started off and we had our Canayo Coalition for Youth and Families meeting. And which of course, I chair, but she runs because she does such a wonderful job with that. So, anyway, it's been a busy month.
Thank you, Director Holt. Director Huffer.
No, pretty much everything Director Holt said. We were at the pickleball meeting, subcommittee meeting with staff, and Tom said they should have something ready for us at the next regular board meeting in December. Movie night was a whole lot of fun. That was a nice thing for you guys to do for the staff. It sounded like everybody really enjoyed it. Nice chick flick that came after the really good movie, but it was entertaining.
Oh, that's what I read.
Very. Costco Open House and Page Lane Ribbon Pull. It was great to see so many people there because I arrived a little bit early on with, is anybody going to show up? And by the
There
time
were
we got
lots
started,
of
we had a
lots
mob
of
there,
them.
including probably half of the people on the election ballot. Those who were already elected and those hoping to be elected. So, but it was a great event. So thank you to the staff for putting that all together.
Okay, Director Lang.
Yes, same as Holt and Upper and Nichols and so forth about all the activities.
We were all
And
there.
also had MRCA meeting yesterday. And just a lot of good things happening in our communities in reference to all the recreation park, open space, etc. So good time to be alive and active in our board, our park district.
Okay, thank you. Well, I didn't go to some of those, but I was at the ribbon cutting. And some people said that they thought I was enthusiastic. I was trying to hold my enthusiasm down.
You
For
failed
the- for-
miserably.
For the amount of enthusiasm I had for that park. And my daughter, I was visiting, she said, "You're gonna go dedicate a park where?" And I said, "Page Lane." And she said, "Grandpa used to always say that was parkland. It really is." And I said, "Yeah, unfortunately, he died before it became a park." And my son was coming to see us and he said, I said, "Yeah, why don't you come on over? We have a new park." And he said, "Where is it?" And I go, "Page Lane." And he goes, "That became a park finally," because we would go up there so much. So yes, I was very excited about this park going in, and I was glad that I could be there. Also, I'd like to say, I know that all of you went to, the big premiere and saw the video. Well, I am the first person that saw the video online. So Charlene sent it to me. And so since I couldn't make it, and I thought that it was amazing, and emailed Wyatt and gave him congratulations since I couldn't do that in person. So I know he's excited.
Photographic evidence that you were there.
Yes, that's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Online.
And kind of an online month for me in October. And then also, when Beverly gave her thing about their open house that they were having with the money that we provided, and they were having a beverage cart, I was kind of taken with that. They had a little volunteer get together, so I went to it and talked to a few of the volunteers, and I saw the beverage cart, and I talked to the one fellow that made it. He was the one that kind of took it upon himself when he heard that there was money for an open house and nobody else was that interested. So he's a fairly new volunteer, and he made the beverage cart. And he and his wife went to the open house and gave out beverages. He made a whole new map. He was telling me all the things that he did advertising with this open house. And I wanted to go to the Chumash one. I didn't make it. It was on my calendar, but I forgot. But I know Director Lang went to the Chumash open house. I went to the Stagecoach Inn open house. I don't know, have there been any other organizations that have taken us up on that open house? Do we know of?
Yes, there are. Rochelle's trying to remember who they were. I think an ASO group did it. Yeah. Tio and Newbury. Yeah, who all did the open house grants?
Yeah, Rancho Potrero, Stagecoach. The beverage cart was for the botanical gardens,
Right.
right? Okay. The botanical gardens, Chumash did it. They did a museum thing that, a whole bunch of different museums did. There's about 8.
Oh, really? Okay, I was just
10,
wondering how
yeah.
many people participated in that.
Yeah, I can give you guys the list. I shut my computer down, so.
Oh, it's okay. I just thought it was such a good idea. And that one fellow talked to me about how grateful that he was for CRPD. In fact, Beverly went on and on about how grateful they were, about how much they love it. So I talked to one guy who doesn't know that much about plants, but he could make a beverage cart. And he was doing all of these other things. And another woman who's a master gardener and was telling me about how she grows black walnut trees from walnuts. I didn't know you could do that. I mean, obviously you could grow a black walnut tree from a walnut, but it wouldn't have, I wouldn't be able to do it. And just very interesting people. And I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to our volunteers. Our staff at CRPD is absolutely amazing. But when I'm talking to these volunteers, you have to think they're not getting paid. Most of them are donating money and working. And we have all of these different community partners that are almost completely run by volunteers. And I think it makes our park very special. And I think of all the hard work that Julie does with the senior volunteers. A lot of our volunteers, a lot of them are seniors because now they have time. Interesting, wonderful people. So, anyway, I wanted to pass on how happy they were for the open house. And I wanted to give a shout out to all the volunteers. And I was wondering, are our community partners unique to CRPD, or do most other rec and parks have community partners? Do we know, or is that unique to us?
No, I think in we all go to our conferences and all
Right.
that kind of stuff, and the public-private partnership / doing more with less is a very, common thing people try to do. I would though suspect for the city, the community our size, that we do have maybe an outside number of nonprofits that we actually partner with to do things on our property and volunteers. Like we're in a really great community. We really are.
Well, I'll stop it, so I don't want the meeting to go on, but I was there talking to them. I thought, well, we have movie buffs over at McCray. We have people growing walnut trees over here. We have people on bikes over here. We have people flying planes. We have people doing community gardens. I mean, it's such a variety, and I just really feel that it brings our community together. And they're also grateful that we are letting them use our land and that they're putting together these fabulous programs. I assured them they were really afraid. I don't know that they were afraid, but they said, well, as long as we can keep the land. I go, I don't think there's any plans for there not to be a botanic garden. I think everybody's very happy with the botanic garden. I don't think any condos are going up here. So anyway, so it was a great month. All righty, do we have a request for status reports and items for subsequent agendas? No, any more items from the public? Do we have anyone online? No? An executive closed session? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.